Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay in the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Welcome one and all to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, and Brian Murphy with you as it is finally here. Football season is upon us. We're recording this a day earlier than we normally do. We're recording this on Tuesday night, August the 27th. UCF kicks off the 2019 season on Thursday, August 29th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time at home against the Florida A&M University Rattlers. It's the 2019 opener. It's Christmas in August, gentlemen. How excited are you to unwrap this new look, relatively new look UCF offense with a new quarterback and all the stuff that's going to happen this year?
I mean, I'm excited. I feel like I'm not as excited as Jeffrey, but I'm like at a 7.
Eric?
I'm excited because I've already been to a football game, and this is only week 1, so I magically got to week 0 football. So
that's
I'm
right. You were at the Florida Miami
yes.
game, which I'm hoping that the quality of play at Spectrum Stadium on Thursday night is better than the quality of play in that game. My Lord.
Well, FAMU's the opponent, so the answer will be no. But hey, at least on their end. So hopefully for our end, we'll be a little better, but that shouldn't be hard.
Well, we've got.
I will. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Brian.
Let's go. Intro the show. Jesus Lord.
Well, no, I was gonna say that you can follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret, and of course, as always, at blackandgoldbanneret.com, where we are the home of your UCF Knights on SB Nation. Murph, you were saying?
I give credit to Brandon Moore, cornerback, because I asked him a couple days ago if he had watched the Florida Miami game, and he said, yeah, they actually watched it. He watched it with some of the other DBs, and I said, kind of, with a little smirk on my face, I said, does he have any thoughts about that game? And he laughed, but he didn't take the bait. He said, they're solid,
yeah.
But he did laugh.
Yeah, well, Bam is running for office somewhere, I think. He's on that, because that game
very good.
That game was such a. The fourth quarter was such a mess.
Are you suggesting a football game with no preseason was sloppy? I'm shocked.
Well, let me put it this way: it was so messy that I stupidly stayed up to watch the Hawaii and Arizona game because I couldn't. It was like leaving the court on a missed free throw. It's like, you don't want to do that. You want to leave with a good taste in your mouth. So that's what I did. I watched a little bit of the Hawaii game. But anyway, all right. So we've got football opener, and we've got a bunch of other things to talk about as well. The UCF women's soccer team got their season underway. The men's soccer team is getting their season underway on Friday. We'll also be talking about volleyball, who will be starting up Friday as well. On the road. So this is it. This is the first full weekend of UCF sports coming your way here on Black and Gold Banneret. And but the first things first is we got to talk about football. And I knew this would happen, Murph, right? No sooner did we put up that podcast and Josh Heupel decides that he has decided on his starting quarterback. It's going to be Brandon Wimbush. Not really a surprise, I think, to anybody. I think the more of the surprise is that it probably took him that long. And maybe there's the sort of opposite surprise that, like I thought he would probably wait until game time. But Brandon Wimbush is going to get the start, although there were indications that, and actually the statement from UCF said that Dylan Gabriel will see action. And in fact, Heupel said on the radio earlier this week, in fact, that Dylan Gabriel will see action actually in the first half against Florida A&M with the ones. ostensibly. So, Murph, you follow this team throughout the camp. I know you're not surprised by this, but from what you could glean, what was the deciding factor?
Experience, pretty much. That's been pretty assured by both Heupel and quarterbacks coach Jeff Lebby, who they talked about Wimbush's consistency and things he did well, how he's improved, but really it does sort of focus in on his experience in these moments and with college football. So I really think that's what got him to this spot. But like you said, Dylan Gabriel's going to play in the first half, and I think, as I've said a couple weeks ago, like, there's still a competition going on here, and I believe that Dylan Gabriel will play probably during the FAU game as well as part of the game plan. And I think as the season goes along, we will figure out, a quarterback will distance himself and he'll get more playing time. The other one will get less. And that I don't know if that will be either Wimbush or Gabriel.
Yeah, it's the MAC thing is the part that really interests me now, because I think that now that might be the competition later on in the year, and so now I'm interested. By the way, do we have any update on MAC, whether if they have any idea when he might be coming back, might be ready to hit the field or no?
Heupel said Monday, or no, excuse me, Saturday, which was their Monday. I mean, I don't know what day is what anymore. He said Heupel said Saturday that Mac is coming along, but the only thing he would really divulge is that he is not practicing this week. That's all he would really say
in advance of the FAMU game. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, I think that obviously Brandon Wimbush's best threat, as we know, is his legs. Eric, what do you glean from this? What did you think about the timing of this announcement?
No, I mean, I didn't think much of it. I mean, we kind of knew that this was going to be probably going to wait till the week of the game. And, look, I think it's pretty predictable. You get Wimbush, the veteran, to start. Gabriel, who has no experience, get him experience with the number ones. I think it's, he's got some upside. He doesn't have experience. You don't know when Mac comes back or what his condition will be when he comes back, because, you can't assume that he'll just be 100% and ready to roll during the season. So I think you want to give yourself some extra options, and this is where the new rule, again, where you could play a kid 4 games and still redshirt him. So why not take advantage of that? If this was 5 years ago, this probably would have been a tougher decision for Josh Heupel, because you would have had to make a decision right away. Do you want to redshirt Dylan Gabriel or you do not? And whereas now you've got some time to do whatever. He could prove it on the field. And I agree with Murph. This is going to be a 2-game deal where both of these quarterbacks play. And by the way, this is nothing new. This has become more of the trend in college football. We saw it last year, and we're going to see it again with other programs this year, where teams are going to play 2 quarterbacks early on in the year if they have a youngster that they believe has a lot of upside but doesn't have the experience. And then you have a veteran guy like Wimbush. So I'm not surprised by it. The timing, the only thing that surprised me is they just decided to do it Thursday instead of waiting until Saturday, I guess. So whatever reason, they decided to do that, which is fine.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys.
It surprised me that they decided to announce it over Twitter. Right. That was deflating.
Maybe they just wanted to. Maybe they just knew that either Brian or Brandon was just going to go ahead and ask that question. So they're like, you know what? Let's just beat it out of it before these guys just bother us with this question and move on. Let's just move on.
Heupel's out there saying, "Fine, Murph. Oh gosh, get it out there." Anyway, so we've got so that's going to be the, and also actually there was a little bit of I did see one other little interesting bit of news. So Parker Boudreaux is going to get the start on the offensive lineman because they're going to go with what they say are their 5 best. Yes. Any surprises there on that, Murph, or no?
Yeah, that is probably the biggest surprise on the depth chart is that Sam Jackson is listed as a co-starter at left tackle.
Someone's going to have to make a decision there. Can't start 2 left tackles.
Oh, exactly. Well, okay. So for clarity, Sam Jackson is ahead of Tony Gray on the depth chart, but there's the word "or" in between them. So technically, he's a co-starter, but really he is the starter. Much like how Parker Boudreaux is listed atop the depth chart at guard, but there's an or under his name, and under his name is Sam Jackson. So Sam Jackson's going to be busy one way or the other. He'll be on the field. No, it's a surprise that Sam Jackson is going to play a lot at left tackle, because he did, when he came into the program, there was some thoughts that he could play tackle, but because Aaron Evans and Wyatt Miller were here, they kicked him inside. And since then, basically since he has been playing here, he's been guard. He's been a guard. He really doesn't have that much experience at tackle, and that lack of experience sort of showed up this week in practice, where he admitted that in his first day when he moved back to the tackle, he would still line up in his guard stance, just sort of out of habit. So you have to change your stance, obviously, when you're playing on the edge. And so, but he says he's gotten better, and the coaches say he's gotten better. But I am so intrigued to watch Sam Jackson on Thursday, because I believe by the time the game starts, he will have had all of 5 practices out there on the edge. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch, in particular against the opponent this week. Florida A&M, some words on the Rattlers this week. So they are coming off of a 6-5 record last season, which was their first year under their current head coach, Willie Simmons, who a graduate of Clemson, by the way, 2003. This is only the second meeting ever between UCF and Florida A&M. The first one is all the way back in 1987. Shout out to Chris Carter. He was there. And Florida A&M has a 1-0 series lead. They beat UCF 19-14. That was when UCF was still Division II. But FAMU 6-5 this year. They come in ranked 5th in the preseason poll put out by Black College Football. So they're behind, they're I beg your pardon, they're actually ranked 2nd in that as of August 20th, behind Alcorn State and just ahead of North Carolina A&T. So FAMU comes in, by the way, the biggest disappointment, I hate to break this to you, but this is the biggest shock to me, is that the band's not coming.
Band is not coming.
The FAMU band is not making the trip.
They're competing in a band competition that weekend. So
I think that I've said this. It would probably be a more exciting situation to see an inter-squad game for UCF with the FAMU band playing at halftime than to see Florida or UCF actually play FAMU in football. I mean, it's. I know.
Listen. Hello, we got Smash Mouth in concert. Who needs the band? Huh? Got a little Smash Mouth before the game.
By the way, great get.
And we got a little Smash Mouth football right after that. UCF Smash Mouth FAMU.
So we've got.
Looks like an all-star. Huh?
So we've got. So FAMU is coming to town now. They got whacked. Here's the big story with them. They got whacked with some NCAA violations. And Eric, I know you've seen this before, but what? And Brian, update everybody on this situation, because they got hit pretty hard by this.
Eric,
go ahead. Oh, Murph, you wanted me to get that one. Yeah, they got hit with some sanctions there, where basically there's going to be a bunch of players not available for them, right? As I understand it, they got hit pretty good with some sanctions. Bans. They got for illegal use of ineligible players.
Yeah, multiple ineligible players across multiple programs.
Yeah,
they got hit with. Nice. This is from Ileana, by the way. Ileana Limon in the Orlando Sentinel. She actually laid it out pretty nicely. She said 5 years of probation. Self-imposed 2019-2020 postseason ban for football, baseball, men's basketball, men's track and field, women's basketball, and volleyball. Vacating records for every contest, as though that matters, for every contest involving an ineligible athlete. Reduction in scholarships by 10% for baseball, men's hoops, men's track, women's hoops, and volleyball. 5% reduction for football for the next 2 seasons. Recruiting restrictions, a $5,000 fine, 3% of the school's total athletics budget, and a partridge in a pear tree. So, wow. you don't see the
good news
NCAA
is
come down
softball was
that hard.
spared.
Yes, softball was spared, but that was
did it
about
clean.
it.
FAMU softball's on the up and up.
Yeah, so
it's a softball program now, folks. Literally.
so they're a little shorthanded heading into this game. By the way, UCF is the only one Division I FBS team that they're playing on their schedule this season. They're picked third in the MEAC, but let's just be honest here. This is going to be they're overmatched in this game. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean,
Oh, wow.
Well, here's the thing I get. I always get a little. Remember the South Carolina State game last year where it just looked like UCF was going to steamroll them, but then kind of just had some trouble getting out of the gates. Mackenzie Milton threw a couple picks. I always get. It's not that I get nervous about whether or not they're going to win or lose. I get nervous about the performance itself. You see what I mean?
If this game isn't 30-0 at the end of one period, Jeff is dusting off the panic button.
I will dust off the panic button very, very much.
This also needs to be said. The last, I don't know how many ever minutes that we have spent on this podcast has been more than FAMU has been mentioned in 4 media availabilities that I've had this week.
That might be true. Now, when the coach is like, as you've talked to them, Murph,
yes.
They can't come out loud and say, yeah, we're treating this like a preseason game in the NFL. We're going to see some of the young guys. They can't say that because, I mean, first of all, it's obviously disrespectful to your opponent. And second of all, it's just bad form. What
they can say and what they have said is that they want to get a lot of guys into the game. And what's the one way you get a lot of guys into the game? It's if the score doesn't matter.
It's 28-0 after 3 minutes.
Right.
So
yeah, that's why nothing like that. We will be overreacting to anything that happens in this game because we're gonna just do that.
All right. Well,
really, this is basically like a second or third preseason game in the NFL. You mentioned the South Carolina State game, whatever. They were sloppy because they're sloppy. I don't expect them to be at their peak opening weekend when you haven't had
There's going to be some opening week jitters with a new quarterback out there.
Exactly right. So I mean, to expect that they're going to do what they're going to do. I think the two main goals from this game is to get some experience from some young guys, like mentioned Gabriel, but other players in other positions. And I think the kicking game will be. We joke, but I do think it's important that UCF scores a lot because I do think they want to try out Murph. And kind of get the kicking game kind of off to a good start, right? I mean, that's still a kind of an underrated question.
I mean, Dylan Barnes, this is Dylan Barnes' third year in the program, but he's still going to be nervous, certainly. I mean, right. He's backed up Matt Wright for as long as he's been here. So even though he's a veteran, upperclassman, he's going to be nervous too. So yeah, I mean, but they're going to have the situations as well. This team's going to score at least 50. I'll just put that out there.
The other thing is you got to play a lot of guys, by the way, and get them out of there so you don't get injuries, especially to your main starter.
True.
That's the main goal. The main goal is don't get hurt, and I know that's the goal every week, but especially this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't expect, and I was funny because some people have asked, well, how much is Wimbush going to play? And I'm like, I hope not much. If things go well, he shouldn't play more than a half. If things go well, so. I expect Gabriel to play a lot, and I expect Quadri Jones to maybe get some action late in the game. I mean, if things go as planned, a lot of guys should be playing. Yeah. My favorite part that I'm looking forward to the most on Thursday is Brian, just breaking down all these guys deep in the depth chart that are in the game right now. That's going to be fun.
There's always going to be 2 or 3 guys who, pop out there, and, Pat Hernan's going to be out there saying, new defensive, or left tackle in the game for UCF is number 68 or whoever, and the guy's not on the roster.
They wouldn't announce. It's okay. They wouldn't announce that, but I understand what you're saying. Here's how guarded UCF coaches have been with their plan for their quarterbacks. We don't even know where Mackenzie Milton will be during this game, and that was asked today to Heupel.
Well,
saying, do a plan for Mackenzie Milton. Will Mackenzie be in the booth with the coaches, or will he be on the field with the coaches? And all Heupel would say is, yes, we have a plan. Good God.
I'm just waiting for somebody to be like, oh my God, they're gonna put no, they're not.
I love that. Pretty funny.
Yeah, that's actually quite brilliant by Heupel.
And
I
hope he just does that too with the CBS Sports Network crew. Please do that.
Yeah.
Just don't even.
But
put him, what they ought to do, what really they should do, and if Andy Seeley was still here, it probably would happen. But can we just put him in a wrestling disguise each week and just try to guess where he is? Hey, he was the guy in the mask that week, dressed as a security guard.
That would be great. He's wearing a fake mustache like Bobby Valentine on the sideline. The game is scheduled to be televised on CBS Sports Network at 7:30. Your announcers, by the way, Rich Waltz, former Marlins play-by-play guy, right?
We miss you, Rich, as a fellow Marlin.
We do. Aaron Taylor, who I think is great, and John Schriffen on the sideline.
Aaron Taylor should give us lots of information about all those Notre Dame guys.
Yeah, exactly. He knows a thing or two about Wimbush and Boudreaux, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and by the way, Brian, I was so impressed. Brandon Wimbush, I'm so impressed by him, and I should be. I mean, he went to Notre Dame, obviously, but such a class guy. I don't know how often you've talked to him. Obviously, he talked on Saturday. I've heard him talk to Mark Daniels, and he was such a classy guy in today's age. He talked about Notre Dame. He's so complimentary of Notre Dame and the program and his time there, and he's like, look, I'm here because I wanted to play, and obviously that wasn't going to be at Notre Dame, but such a classy guy that, to me, I hope every Knight fan, there's been so much chatter about who they prefer as the quarterback and things like that, but I find myself rooting for this guy, man, to have a great end of year, right, in his senior year, because I think he's what's right about college athletics.
No, I mean, he's kind of, he is what you expect out of a grad transfer senior who's poised and just seems very likable and smart. I think there was a really cool. First of all, we know that he will not say anything derogatory or negative about Notre Dame. He just will not. I think there was an interesting response from Brandon on Saturday when I actually asked him about last season and how he dealt with what I think I termed it as sort of his up and down season with Notre Dame. And he said, "What are you talking about? I had a great season. We went undefeated." And that's kind of who he is. He got benched, he lost his job, and he loved last season because the team did great. Yeah. And so I think that sort of thing fits right in. Now, I will say he went on to talk about how he had to learn through adversity last year and what he learned. So there was a revealing part to that answer about what he learned when he did lose his job. But his first reaction to that was the season last year was fantastic for me because we went undefeated until the playoffs.
And I think that's important. And I know Coach Heupel has talked about that these guys support each other. So even though there's a quarterback a competition here and everybody wants to play and things like that, I think that's important for this team's success, because what you don't want is division from within. Well, why is that guy playing? Why is this guy playing?
Right.
And I think it's important to have somebody like Wimbush who's mature and experienced and has been through these type of things to be in this mix with youngsters like a Gabriel, even a Quadri Jones. We don't know what max status is. I think that's important that these guys, and I know coaches are supposed to say, they're never going to say, well, these guys don't get along. But I do sense, that's what struck me, Brian, and listening to Brandon is, I do feel that's a maturity in that locker room that this team could definitely needs and has. And I feel good about that, whatever happens the rest of the year with the quarterback situation.
Yeah, and you guys are both right about that. I think that the more we hear from guys like Brandon Wimbush, I think the more UCF fans are going to really like the fact that they have this guy at this particular time in the program with, waiting for Mac to come back. And boy, I think that's going to be real interesting. If Brandon Wimbush has a really good start to this season, I wonder what I just wonder what the coaching staff's going to think. I wonder what the fans are going to think.
He's got a great talent around him. He's got great talent around him, a great offensive line, good receivers and backs. And it'll be fascinating. One of the things to see is how is the play calling for Wimbush compared to a play calling for Gabriel, right? They're not going to call the game like they did for Mackenzie Milton, but I think they use Wimbush's strengths, which I think is his legs. And that's the thing. People forget this guy won a lot of big games at Notre Dame. But the passing game is obviously the question. But with this team, I think they can use his strengths that really would benefit very well, and he's got a good offensive line. So I'm intrigued to see that play out. Brian, you guys brought up Parker Boudreaux, Notre Dame guy himself, big, dare I say, Murph, the beast incarnate type lineman there.
300 plus pounds,
beast.
man.
He gained 20 pounds, by the way, in the offseason. Gained 20. So I don't know, Eric. I mean, I asked him about Brock Lesnar, and he said he'll ask DeSalvo, but I know they don't do individual interests in college, but man, that'd be something.
Everyone wants that.
But here's my thing, right? So can't we do something like East Carolina, right? I believe every time there's a third down defensively, they play the Undertaker theme song, right? So couldn't we do anytime he makes a a big block that breaks a 30-yard run, can't we do the beast incarnate music there? I mean,
Don't give these people any ideas.
Either that, or we could do like a Shaft music, like every time Sam Jackson has a big block. I mean, we got plenty of material of opportunities here, but we're focused. We're focused a lot on the offense.
You got to be careful with the Pulp Fiction drops that they could put in there for Sam Jackson. Yeah. Say what one more time. By the way, there is a line for this game. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, well, there's a couple. Which one you want to use?
I've got where is this? OddsShark has UCF as a 47.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
Over under is 65.5.
So basically, OddsShark is saying that this should be a 55-12 game or 56-11.
Well, what's funny is you know that score predictor feature that I really like on OddsShark. The predicted score of this game there is 55.2 to 0.0. So, so there you go.
So here's real quick. I mean, defensively, what do you want to see? In particular, anything to? I mean, it's tough, right? Because you're facing an overmatched offense that you should dominate.
Right. I want to see. I want to don't give up any stupid big plays. Don't blow any coverages really bad. And don't give them hope. I mean, if they're gonna, games like this always seem to go like this, right? Where the team that is overmatched, they'll fall down like 14-0, and then they'll mount a little drive just to get something going, right? And maybe they'll get a touchdown. Maybe they'll get a big play here or there. Maybe they'll get a field goal. And FAMU's on the board. It's now 14-3, and then UCF stomps on their throat, right? Or whatever whoever the favorite is. That's what I want to see. Is just even if they mount that little drive, just hold them to a field goal. That's it, and just take care of business the rest of the way. I can even live with giving up a garbage touchdown in the fourth quarter. That's because you have your freshman out there. Some kid blows a coverage, whatever. But in the first quarter in particular, just take care of business and don't let them mount a drive.
Well, Brian, don't you want to see the defensive line too, right? A lot of names there. We want to see.
I'm less concerned with the result because I know what the result is going to be. It's going to be a win by a lot. I'm more concerned with just technique. Like even if Brandon Wimbush completes his passes, he's doing against a secondary of FCS talent. I want to see Brandon Wimbush move and set his feet. I want to see how he positions his body. I just want to see him technically look sound. I want to see the defensive line, although they may not get a lot of stats, I want to see what kind of push they create in the middle with the new guys like Cam Good, Noah Hancock, Landon Woodson, Kenny Sunye. It's Sunye. That is what I've been told.
All right.
Sunye, not Turnier. It's because he's from Haiti, so it's really heavy French. Sunye, Kenny Sunye. He's obviously been here for a little bit, but this would be his first real big chance at big playing time, wide playing time. And so I want to see what those guys do as far as just getting off the ball, getting push up front, changing the line of scrimmage. There's those things, So again, if it comes out with sacks and touchdowns, that's great. But how'd they get there? Sam Jackson may not give up a sack, but how does he look getting out of his stance and just covering left tackle?
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Eric? What do you want to see from this group?
No, I think Murph hit it 100%. I think the big thing, I don't think we spoke about this last time, but this team's actually now deeper as a roster, Murph, than it was the last time I think we spoke, right? Because they found out there's some guys who'd be eligible on this football team.
On both sides of the line with Cam Good at defensive tackle, Tony Gray at left tackle on offense.
Right, and that's the two big wins for UCF there, getting those two guys eligible.
What was the talk about that, Murph, and what impact they can make, not necessarily just this game, but the rest of the year here?
Well, Cam Good has been a major stud in fall camp, according to a lot of the coaches. Just the effort he brings, the motor, the athleticism out of a guy who has been really big. I mean, he came in at 325. Now he's at 280, but he plays big, and yet he's so much more athletic and faster now. He can really do some big things on the defensive line. Tony Gray, I'm less certain of. I just haven't heard as much. He was in that competition at left tackle with Trevor Elbert and Ed Collins for left tackle. And, of course, none of them are starting now. All of them are backups. Trevor Elbert got moved to the other side of the line, backing up Jake Brown at right tackle. But I don't know what to expect out of Tony as much. We'll see. But I think Cam Good has a lot of upside. People are really excited to see what he brings.
All right. And we've got by the way, in addition to that, by the way, if you're wondering too, weather for this game, 83 degrees is the expected game time temperature, 70% humidity. It's going to be a soup out there. Possibility of some rain in the early afternoon, should clear out by game time. It'll be a little gusty, winds out of the northeast at 11. So
can't be any hotter than it was Saturday night at Camping World.
Well, maybe, I don't know. By the way, one other little side note: Leger Douzable will be making his debut as a sideline analyst for UCF on the radio crew. So it'll be good to hear Leger. Kickoff once again 7:30 on CBS Sports Network. And at Spectrum Stadium. Should be fun once again to see UCF back on the football field. And we'll see what they do. Real quick, yes or no, before we go to break, guys, does UCF break their single game points record of 73 set against Austin P in 2017? Murph?
No.
Eric?
Nah.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right. Moving on.
There's no reason to. I mean, whatever.
Well, I mean, you might by accident. I mean,
That was the game where people were like, I don't remember the final score, but people were like, they scored 73, but they gave up like 30.
Yeah, it was like 73-29
Yeah, I was at
something.
that game. Yeah, I was at that game. They
Steve Griffin had a scoop and score touchdown off a fumble. I think it was his first touchdown and only touchdown in college.
73-33 was the final.
Right. And that's really when that is the game where people really started freaking out about the UCF defense.
It's true.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't had an off day in so long.
Yeah.
And by the way, people are still concerned about it. That's going to be interesting. One of the many storylines this year is, do they improve from last year?
Yeah.
Which I think is going to be which I think they will, right, Murph? I mean, year two, I talked to some of the players. I'm sure you've talked to a lot of players. I get a sense that despite the fact they're maybe young in certain areas, they should be better defensively than what they showed last year.
I don't know if they're better, but what they are is deeper and probably more versatile and more athletic.
And more experienced in the scheme, too.
I mean, yeah, they're more experienced in the scheme naturally because it's year two. But, I don't know if they're better. Again, you get better athletes in there. Like, and Shane Burnham, the defensive line coach, has said, Joey Connors and I forgot the other defensive, not Tristan Hill, but the guys they had last year were not the most athletic guys, but they were good. They were experienced. They knew what to do. These guys, they're just not there yet because they don't have that experience. But what they do have is probably more just innate skill. AJ Wooten was the guy I was trying to think of. Those guys were not as athletic as these guys, but who knows if they'll be better. Better is really subjective. I think they will be. I think they are definitely deeper. They definitely have more guys. They know they can run out there, and I think they have more innate talent. It's about unleashing that, and I don't know if we'll see. We will just see.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be following that game obviously intently. We'll have our Live thread up for that game, of course. Preview coming out from Luke Saris on Wednesday, and plenty more in advance of UCF's opener against FAMU. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk a little news out of the American, and we'll recap for you some women's soccer and look ahead to men's soccer and volleyball opening up this weekend as well. Stick around. The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is back after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, and Brian Murphy with you. blackandgoldbanneret.com, UCF_Banneret on Twitter. By the way, check out our predictions for the season on blackandgoldbanneret.com. They came out earlier on Tuesday. Here's what we went. We went game by game. And I asked all of you guys, not just you two, but also everybody else. Derek Warden, our chief photographer, Luke Saris, Savage Luke, Chris Carter, Jeremy Brenner, Chaz Short, CFB Asterisk, to go game by game, give us their win-loss, predict the Americans West champion. Will UCF be in the American Championship? What will they do? And then what the bowl will be, who the bowl opponent will be, and the result. So, interestingly enough, as I'm looking at this, Luke was the only person who said 14-0.
Shocker!
And
Shocking
he had UCF beating Houston in the American and beating Notre Dame in the Cotton Bowl to go 14-0. We all had the Cotton Bowl.
I have Cotton. Yeah.
Yeah. We all.
That's where the.
Yeah.
I had, along with Jeremy and Chaz, I had Michigan as the opponent. Eric, Derek, Luke, and Chris had Notre Dame, and Brian was the only holdout with Florida.
I wrote that on Friday, I believe.
It's still within the realm of possibility, I think, even after the game. I
love that. He's already turned on his pick.
I think it's interesting. I was the only one who picked UCF to beat Michigan. Of the people who picked Notre Dame, let's see, Eric, you picked them to lose to Notre Dame, and Brian, you picked UCF to lose to Florida. So, what do you have to say for yourself?
Podcast very happy.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the picks for the American Championship were interesting. 5 of us picked Houston, 3 picked Memphis.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Sounds about right.
The trend's going Houston. That's good news for you as your Memphis.
Yeah.
I don't like that. People are jumping on the Cougs bandwagon.
And then what I also thought was interesting, talk about wisdom of the crowds, right, is the games that we thought UCF would have trouble with. 3 of us picked UCF to lose to Stanford. 4 of us, exactly half of us, picked UCF to lose at Cincinnati. And let's see, 2 of us picked UCF to lose to Houston at home. So it's those 3 games that are kind of the nail biters out of this whole situation in that order: at Cincinnati, Stanford, and Houston.
You're really you're calling for a crappy year in the group, whatever you want to call it.
I am. I don't see.
You've got UCF in with 2 losses, which would be unheard of. Usually, the automatic group of 5 champion is a 0 or 1 loss from any league. So that I don't think we're
gonna see that. I think everyone's gonna have 2 losses at least.
Okay. That's pretty bold. I'll give you that. That's pretty bold.
Look, that's my prediction. I'm sticking to it.
I'm not in that group. People should see 12-2. Understand that it contains the bowl loss for me. Right. So I don't subscribe to 2 loss. Still making the New Year's Day 6 bowl game. No way.
Let's see. So by the way, and that's the other thing I want to go with. Final record. Luke had 14-0. Derek had 13-1, with the only loss coming to Cincy. 5 of us went 12-2. By the way, I'm not the only one who had UCF going 12-2 with. Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. I'm wrong. I must have written that down. Chris had UCF at 13-1. I had UCF at 12-2. Brian,
you're
you
the
had
only
at
one
12-2.
that got them at 2 losses during the regular season.
2 losses in the regular season. And I almost said, by the way, I changed my bowl pick at the last minute. I almost said Miami Beach Bowl against Florida Atlantic, or Florida International, I should say. And
Boy,
but
Jeff
then
is just trolling the fan base now.
I know,
oh boy,
that's
but I was like, no, I'm going to pick the Cotton Bowl. And then, well, I'm not the one trolling the fan base. That honor belongs to Chaz Short, who picked UCF to go 11-3. So,
Didn't Chaz he has them winning the bowl game though, right?
No, he has them losing the bowl game.
Oh, okay, so he has them with 2 losses and losing the bowl game.
Yeah, so yeah, he also has UCF losing 2 in the regular season and going to the Cotton Bowl.
To expect 2 losses, I mean, you would need a lot of help there.
I would not
everybody to basically.
I would not be surprised, and my tinfoil hat take on this is I think you're going to have everybody with 2 losses. Maybe you have one team with 1 loss, but the committee would give the nod to a team from the American because ESPN.
It's because of ESPN. It's because they're the best conference. I don't think it's an ESPN.
Well,
the
best conference that's on ESPN. And by the way, I think UCF has established itself as a brand, and people are going to want to see UCF instead of Utah State.
Well, here's the thing. I think this week 1 will set the tone for all of that. You have Cincinnati hosting UCLA on Thursday night.
Yeah, that's true.
You have South Florida scheduled to host Wisconsin Friday night in Tampa. You have Houston at Oklahoma on Sunday night. And you have Memphis hosting Ole Miss on Saturday. To me, for all the people that are saying that the American doesn't get respect and all that stuff, and that's somewhat fair, this is a put up or shut up week. You have to win, in my opinion. At worst, you should go 2-2 in that 4-game slate. If you go worse than 2-2, then we're not going to get any credit or respect down the road. I'm just telling you that right now.
Yeah.
Because to me, Memphis should absolutely beat Ole Miss, and I think Cincinnati should, with all this hype, better beat UCLA at home.
I mean, that's a big ask in year 2 with Chip Kelly out there at UCLA, though, don't you think?
They beat them last year at UCLA.
UCLA is better. I don't think they're like some sort of Leviathan.
Yeah, but that game is going to be Thursday across from the UCF game, by the way, on ESPN, UCLA at Cincinnati. By the way, here's the crew for that game, Eric. You ready for this? Adam Amin, Matt Hasselbeck, and Pat McAfee.
Right. Boy, Adam Amin, man.
Wow.
And Molly McGrath down
Great
on the
crew.
sideline. I'm going to watch that. But no, I think that's a big. I mean, you could say what you want about Chip and all that, but if Cincinnati was getting a lot of hype, everybody thinks UCF's going to go up to Cincinnati and lose on Friday night. I'm not sold on Cincinnati. I think they're a fraud. I think everybody's overrating them.
Man.
I saw them in person last year. I wasn't impressed. I think they're still a year. I think Luke's doing a good job there, Luke Fickell, but I don't see them as a serious threat to UCF at all. But if they are, if they're really this good, they should beat UCLA. Because if not, they're going to get crushed by Ohio State the following week.
Yeah.
So this is a big game for Luke Cincinnati, and I think it's a big game for the league because I did think the league was down last year, and I think it's a big year for the league to bounce back. And I think this week will set the tone for that. And then again, I'm going to say it again. You could make the argument that the American really can win 3 of those 4. The only one that I think gets a pass is Houston because they got to go to Oklahoma. That's a big ask. But I can make the argument that the other 3 games, the American could, in theory, win. USF is an underdog, obviously Wisconsin, but they're at home. But I definitely think Cincinnati needs to beat UCLA. I'll use that word, needs to beat UCLA. And I think Memphis, Murph's favorite team and everybody's other darling, better beat Ole Miss, who's going to be a bottom team in the SEC.
Yeah, Memphis is. By the way, so the time slots for those games, by the way, 7 o'clock on Thursday, UCLA at Cincinnati on ESPN. If you're also interested, Tulane is home for FIU at 8 on ESPN3. Friday, by the way, I know this is not an American game, but it might be worth keeping an eye on for that group of 5. For that group of 5 slot. Rice is at Army on CBS Sports Network. You can see what Army's all about.
He's very good. Army, a lot of people think might be the second best team as far as the biggest threat here. And then if Boise State, Florida State gets played, on Saturday, which I think is a big if, depending on weather.
Right.
That could be a big leg up for Boise State. I think the Mountain West is very good as well. So that's interesting. See, and that's the thing. I'm surprised. I actually think UCF has to beat Stanford to get your pick correct, Jeff. Because if they lose to Stanford, I don't know where they get the marquee. I guess you're going to argue that the Pittsburgh win would get them over the hump.
Well, the Pitt win, and then I think UCF actually down the stretch could really just run roughshod over the rest of their schedule.
True, and everybody's like, yeah, let's give them the benefit. Yeah,
right. Wisconsin. You mentioned Wisconsin at South Florida. Wisconsin's ranked number 19. That game's on ESPN Friday at 7. Dave Fleming and Louis Riddick have that game. Tulsa is at number 18, Michigan State. That's on FS1 at 7 on Friday. Our boy Tim Brando's doing that game. Let's see. What else we have? Oh, and then we come to Saturday. The Ole Miss-Memphis game is at noon on ABC. Let's see. FAU's at Ohio State. I know that's not an American game, but still probably noteworthy.
Big for the league to get some early games, your good TV slots, marquee games, opportunities.
Chance to see FAU. Right. Well, chance to see FAU.
FAU's at Ohio. Well, they're going to get crunched by Ohio State.
Well, what are we going to see the following week from them? Because we don't. Not much. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'm just kind of rolling through here. Yeah, ECU's at NC State. That's on the ACC network. And that's I know I'm missing a few because I'm looking on a spreadsheet here, but that's about it.
Murph, don't you? For all the because everybody hates this or like us, conspiracies and all this stuff. For the American, this is a great opportunity. This is why you play these games, is to get these games under your belt, get some wins in September when matters, and make a statement that you are one of the better, that your league is really good, and that could pay dividends. To Jeff's point, come December. That we are not only the best league as far as the non-P5, but maybe we're as good as the Pac-12, if not better. Maybe we're as good as the ACC, but you got to get results on the field, and this is a great opportunity starting here in Week 1.
I would argue the AAC was better than the Pac-12 last year.
Well, everybody was. Yes.
Got to stay ahead of the competition.
Look, you got to win games. It's not that hard. You just got to. It's pretty simple. Win games, get respect.
No, but you're right. But Murph, you're right, 100%. Because I do think. The Pac-12 has the same situation this week. They need to put up here. A lot of hype about Oregon. Well, they're going to play Auburn and a true freshman. They need to win that game if you're a Pac-12 guy. Stanford, they're in a similar pressure. They got Northwestern to start off. You want to talk about that game? That's a big game there. So you're right. It's about getting results early in the year, and I think that's what makes these games interesting. We'll get a feel for who's good. Not that you don't necessarily know who's good or not, but when we have these debates in November and December about how supposedly the committee doesn't know what they're doing when they're ranking teams, these are games that does play will help your argument or hurt your argument.
Yeah. By the way, another game I would keep an eye on too. After the UCF game, 10:30 Eastern on Saturday. Fresno State is at USC. And given what you guys are talking about, that becomes a pretty interesting game. That game's on ESPN, by the way. So, national television.
Point.
Yeah. Because Fresno's another team that people are thinking about as a potential G5 contender. And then you talked about the Pac-12. Well, what's USC going to do at home? They always those two teams, something always seems to happen between those two teams when they get together.
Well, and especially there's probably no coach in the country that's in a hotter seat than Clay Helton.
Yeah, that's true.
At USC right now, and with Urban Meyer probably blocks away in his Fox studio this year. So.
And don't forget, Sunday, September the 1st, like you said, Eric, assuming it gets played, is that Houston-Oklahoma game. Oklahoma comes in number 4.
That one will get played. The one I don't know if
that's right.
Is Boise State.
Yeah, Boise State and Florida State. Yeah, and the Boise State-Florida State game is scheduled to be in Jacksonville Saturday at 7. But we have the tropical storm potentially coming that way. So
batten down the hatches, Grandma. We got a tropical storm.
Yeah. Well, we've seen games. I feel like we've seen games played in tropical storm conditions before. If I'm not mistaken.
Know. Yes, UCF included. I was there when they played Marshall.
That's right. 2011
at home on a game where I was doing stats for Bright House in a monsoon. Imagine that.
If that strengthens a little more, it'll be the first time a hurricane impacts a football game this season.
Yeah. It's like I said on Twitter. I mean, that Danny White, man, what a genius. Move this game up ahead. Move this game ahead 2 days because he knew the storm was coming way back in May. By the way, speaking of the American, news story that dropped earlier today from an interview, initially with an interview on Memphis radio, but then written up later by Matt Murschel, your boy over the Orlando Sentinel, Murph. The American...
His colleague, hello, it's his colleague.
Yes, his
friend.
colleague, compadre, comrade at the Orlando Sentinel. With UConn, this is the lead from Matt. With UConn set to leave the American Athletic Conference in June, the league is planning to file paperwork within the next few days, seeking an NCAA waiver that would allow it to eliminate divisions in football. The plan from Mike Oresco is this, that the divisions would be eliminated in the American starting in 2020. And that the league is trying to make sure that each team has a designated annual rival. And, of course, for UCF, that would be South Florida. The objective also, I believe, they're trying to they're also trying to get a waiver to get a championship, to keep the championship game, if I'm not mistaken, too. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
so...
because not having divisions, you got to put the waiver in,
right.
And certainly, which I think they will. Everybody expects that to pass.
Yeah, eliminating the championship game, this is according to Matt Murschel, is out of the question because it is part of the league's media rights deal with ESPN and another agreement with Learfield IMG College.
In other words, we get a lot of money to carry that game.
Yes, that's a big... That's a big, huge check that we're going to get. So
that's why the Big 12 is like, yeah, we got to expand. We need that conference title game. Oh wait, we don't have to expand. We can still get the game. Okay, great, we'll get that.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, all right.
Thoughts on this? I don't think anybody's surprised by this. A couple of people threw around on social media some ideas where you would have two designated rivals. And then the other 6 games would be rotated, and you can do that. There's a way that you can schedule around that. I think it's good. Obviously, if you have only one rival, I think that's going to be South Florida, of course. Real quick, I just want to poll you guys on this: is if there was a second rival, who do you think it should be? Murph, I'll start with you.
Memphis.
Memphis. Okay. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I think Brian. We had this debate when UConn left. Announced they were leaving. I forget when that was. It's been a long time.
A couple months ago.
It was in the summer.
Yeah.
It was in July, early July, something like that. Murph won me over because I originally said maybe ECU and all that, but Murph makes a good point. I mean, UCF Memphis for this league, and the last 2 years have had memorable games for the league, and they've been playing for high stakes, so they've kind of developed a rival there. Certainly, Memphis looks at UCF as a big rival. That's the team they can't get through. So I'm with Murph. I think Memphis should be that second game. It makes sense geography anyway, and you hope that those are two of your programs that kind of carry the flag for this league in football. So I think it should be Memphis. There's definitely documents there that proves it.
This is only one anecdote from a different sport, but it kind of encapsulates how Memphis feels about UCF. When I was at the FedEx Forum for the basketball tournament in March, they showcased all of the programs that won conference titles that year. So they'd run through, Houston wins such and such, and they'd run through every sport of the AAC. And the loudest reaction was when they showed UCF football champions. That got loud. It was a loud, thundering boo, like Andrew Luck walking off the field in Indianapolis.
That's harsh. That's harsh.
Because I really think they hate UCF, and I think that's good for the conference.
I agree. By the way, who's going to complain about going to Beale Street every other year if you're a fan?
Me being the traditionalist that I am from a UCF perspective, I want East Carolina.
Now you do realize, like Memphis and ECU, they've played UCF for a long time. So
well, ECU actually has the longest period of time, or actually the most meetings, I should say. 17 meetings between these two squads since 1991. So UCF's won the last 3. So yeah, I'm a little partial, but whatever. All right, so I'm sure that
Beale Street wins, baby. Beale Street.
We should
Greenville. Beale Street, Greenville. What do you think, Murph?
Well, since I can't seem to get internet reception in Greenville, I'll go with Beale Street.
God, oh gosh, you guys, unbelievable!
I can't. I
you
swear to God,
you
Jeffrey,
whiny media guys, unbelievable.
I was not there. I was at a steakhouse restaurant. First of all, it was pretty good and it was very inexpensive. So that's
the barbecue. The barbecue in Greenville is solid, I will say.
Very good, but I couldn't get on the internet at like 10 o'clock at night.
What, you're saying that the internet shuts down before 10 o'clock at night in Greenville? I mean,
they might have saved power.
All right. Well, I think we'll probably hear by around October, I think is what I was seeing from that. But
am I the only one that amused though by this? Like they had their spring meetings, right? And Mike Oresco brought this idea up, and the anti-Oresco crowd out there, you know who you are, ripped him. Oh, what is he, crazy? He's out of his mind. You know, and the coach is like, oh, they're not for it at all. And then UConn leaves. Now everybody's for it. All right, we're good.
I do want to add too. I wish I could find it. I spent like an hour looking for it. I know they recorded his speech, and I watched his speech. But after his speech at the meeting in Newport, Rhode Island, back in July, he did do a little bit of Q&A, and that I can't find. But in that Q&A, I can almost guarantee that he was asked about maintaining rivalries, and he mentioned UCF and USF, and so
that's the marquee game, isn't it?
Right. Anybody who's concerned about the lack of divisions breaking up this game, like, no, that game's not going away ever.
No, that's going to be a big part of it. And the reason why he was thinking about getting rid of the divisions to begin with, and people didn't, because people, what we do now is we just read the headline and rip the guy without listening to his, people actual reason why they said it. The reason was he was concerned. He was openly concerned about last year's situation where UCF played a Memphis team that had 4 losses going in or 5, something like that. And he was like, look, honestly, if Memphis beats UCF, I would have congratulated them and everything, but that would have cost us money. And so his thought was, maybe we can guarantee that doesn't happen by getting rid of divisions and playing the 2 best teams record-wise. With a win-loss record and division and their conference record overall. That's why he was thinking, because the goal is you want to get that all-access 6 bowl, and you don't want a team with 4 losses to kind of spoil that for you. So that was why he was bringing it up. And now, because of UConn leaving, it becomes almost a necessary. You have to do it.
Right.
And I think everybody understands it. And I think they're going to be fine, like Murph said. I think I don't think it hurts the league at all. It's worked out for the Big 12, and you're not even going to have to play everybody, I don't believe. I'm more interested, and we'll find this out more when we get to basketball season, if they will expand the basketball conference schedule, and maybe where everybody plays everybody a home and home. I think that's the thing that I'm curious come November when we talk basketball.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to take a look at there. All right, let's take a break, one more break. When we get back, we'll wrap up by catching up with soccer and volleyball coming up here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, Brian Murphy here. Let's wrap it up here as we head. Like we said, we're heading into the first full weekend of UCF sports, where all the major fall sports are actually playing. The season kicked off actually earlier this weekend with women's soccer, who went to who took on number 16 Wisconsin in their opener at home, but came up short 1-0 in that game. Wisconsin got a goal in the 64th minute by Danny Rhodes. UCF, the shots were 9-8. The corners were in favor of Wisconsin 7-5 in that game, but UCF loses the 1-0 decision and drops to 0-1. But they will fire it back up at home Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Against Ohio State. And by the way, looking up Ohio State.
A lot of positive signs there. While you looked that up, I watched that entire match thanks to Twitch.
They played well. Yes, that was big. We'll talk about that in a second too, because I have something to say about that.
There were a lot of positives. I watched that match. UCF could have easily scored early in that match. A couple minutes in, missed a net. They had a penalty kick opportunity in the second half to try, and just wasn't a good PK opportunity. Was short. But I saw some positives. This is a young team there. Very good Wisconsin team. We mentioned this last week. They're a Big Ten tournament championship contender. This is a team that's definitely a team that could potentially be a Sweet 16 team in the NCAA's. Wisconsin, I'm talking about. So, unfortunately, they gave up the goal, so it's a tough result. But I saw some positives there, and we'll see if they can build on that going against Ohio State Wednesday night.
But by the way, Ohio State coming in lost their first two games at home to Louisville 2-1 and Mizzou 3-1. Last year they were 9-6-4 and got knocked out of the Big Ten tournament on PKs by Nebraska. So, by the way, they're receiving votes in the United Soccer Coaches poll. So Ohio State is another quality opponent that Tiffany Roberts-Hadak has coming into town. So, and the game will be televised on Twitch. By the way, now we mentioned this before with UCF's Olympic Sports going to Twitch.tv, which by the way, you no longer have to pay for that. UCF Knights used to have to pay $99 a year for UCFKnights.tv, and in this transition year before UCF goes to ESPN, moves their Olympic sports over to ESPN Plus, the games get moved. They're putting everything on Twitch, which, as we all know, is the gaming streamer channel. But a little bit of an issue, though, by the way. If you have Roku like me, I couldn't get the Twitch channel on Roku, so I can't watch the games on my big television at home. I had to watch it on my laptop, and that was
Murph,
a little annoying.
Oh boy,
I'm just saying.
So
there's this.
So saddened by this. R.I.P.
I mean, Jeff, you do know there's this thing called a laptop. You can watch.
I was watching on, but sometimes I like watching a little
and the
UCF
phone,
soccer.
Listen,
I got this.
And my laptop.
I got my living room. See, I'm a cord cutter. I got my living room set up. I can get stuff through my Wi-Fi. I want to see it on there. So I'm kind of bummed by that. But
here's another idea. Go to the game. Don't worry about it. Just go to watching in person.
True point. Well, I got the two kids. I can't go to every game, but I'm trying to get to the games. By the way, speaking of the games, men's soccer is starting up this weekend. They have a huge weekend to start the season. They won their two exhibition matches by a combined score of 9-1 against Eastern Florida and FIU. They start at number 4 Wake Forest in Winston-Salem on Friday at 6. And then they take on number 6 North Carolina 2 days later, Sunday, September 1st at 7:30 p.m. In Chapel Hill, before coming home to play Penn State. So, wow, Scott Calabrese really loading it up to start off. Wake Forest has beaten UCF twice in their all-time series, but the last time they played was in 2006. The last matchup was a 5-0 win for Wake Forest. Against UNC, they have won the lone matchup against UCF. That was back in 2006 as well, 1-0. So, big start for Scott Calabrese's team, who, by the way, like we said, has scored a bunch of goals in the exhibition season. Let's see what they do against two of the top 6 teams in the country, right, Eric?
Yeah, it's going to be big. I mean, Wake Forest is a national championship contender. So that both of them are. That's going to be certainly a tall order. Some good news for UCF was in their last exhibition against FIU, Luis Perez. Luis scored a goal. That was great to see him. It was his first action. He had an ACL injury, which if you go back to our last episode, we had Scott Calabrese on. He talked about that and bringing him in slowly. That's huge because he's also a Herman watch list. He's kind of under the radar with Cal Jennings on the team. So it's good to have him back on the pitch. So, yeah, they're going to be tested with Wake Forest and North Carolina. There's no doubt about it. And as Coach said at our last episode, and we encourage you for all your previews. We have men's soccer and volleyball in our last episode.
Yep.
It's Coach Calabrese and Dagenet. Check that out on our archives, wherever you listen to the podcast. But, they're going to learn what they need to work on real quick with those two matches. And so it's going to be a fascinating to see how they kind of pair up and how they match up against two of the top teams right now in the country. So they're pretty exciting top 15 matchups right off the bat.
Yeah. So I'll be keeping an eye on that as well. I do want to see how Cal Jennings starts the year, and do we get any relief for him on the scoring side. Volleyball is also starting this weekend. They are on the road. They fell in their exhibition up in Gainesville against number 10 Florida. They played an automatic 5 sets, which they do in exhibition. So UCF did take one of the 5 sets up at the O-Dome, but McKenna Melville double 17 and 11 digs, and it was good to see also Erin Olsen back out there too, because she was hurt at the end of last year. That no doubt had an effect on the end of UCF season. But they start the regular season. That was an exhibition match. They start the regular season at the Rebel Invitational at Ole Miss. They go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday at 4 against Iowa State. Saturday at 2 against Rice, and Sunday at 1 against the home hosts, Ole Miss. That's on SEC Network Plus, by the way. If you get that, you'll be able to watch that matchup. This is before UCF starts the home series, the home schedule on Friday, September the 6th. But big news for volleyball, in that they're picked to win the American this year by in the preseason coaches poll. They had 8 of the 12 first place votes. Cincinnati had the other 4. UCF was picked number 1 in the preseason. Jordan Thompson of Cincinnati was a unanimous selection for preseason player of the year, but one UCF Knight, McKenna Melville, was a unanimous preseason all-conference team selection. Christina Fisher and Anne-Marie Watson of UCF were also mentioned on the preseason all-conference teams. So high expectations for UCF, expected to repeat. But this will be a big weekend. Of course, getting that SEC and Big 12 competition, 2 of the bigger conferences in college volleyball. If UCF is able to take care of business against, I'm always looking at that like the match they should win is the Rice match, and then you want to get one of those 2 against Iowa State or Ole Miss. If you can get the Ole Miss match, I mean, all the better. Nothing against Iowa State; they're pretty good, but those teams are going to definitely help. Even just playing those teams is going to help out your RPI. Winning at least one of them really will. So that'll be the start of UCF's volleyball season before they get going on with the home schedule on Friday, September the 6th against South Carolina. All right, let's wrap it up. We still got a lot of things to preview here. Murph, what do you have on tap for us as we get ready for Thursday night?
I'll be a part of the UCF Banneret roundtable here. We'll unleash that tomorrow.
Yep. Credit to Jeremy Brenner for popping that together for us.
Yes. And I will be at the stadium. Let's see, the game's at 7:30, so I will be in the press box by 4:30, and then I'll probably be there on the campus before that. I
got to check out a little Smash Mouth, right? Like,
what time is the Smash Mouth set, by the way?
No, I don't. Not 1 second.
Not a fan. A little All-Star. That's All-Star. You're an All-Star.
Jeffrey, I'm sorry. I'm used to Jeff having bad takes. That's why.
Walking on the Sun.
Eric,
there we go.
Eric, I listened to Smash Mouth. The 17-year-old me had Smash Mouth pounded into my skull. All right, I don't need it. It's fine.
By the way, two hours prior to game time, Smash Mouth goes on stage at 5:30. By the way, go ahead, Murph. I'm sorry.
Great. I'm sure. I would like to also apologize to the city of Greenville. It's fantastic, and to people who booed Andrew Luck. Although I used you as a joke, let me say that you are all out of touch with reality, and so
that's a very nice way of putting it.
Wow.
Oh boy.
I thought you were gonna break wasn't there I thought you were gonna talk about Eric Skoglund coming back in the big leagues for the Royals.
You know what?
Skog back in, yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, Eric, yes, Eric Skoglund. When I talked to Dylan Moore, he was at that point last Wednesday the only UCF player on a 40-man roster. Well, now there was 2 because Eric Skoglund started on, I believe that was Saturday, for Kansas City. He threw 5 innings. I think he gave up 2 runs. He struck out nobody, which is highly odd for this day in baseball. But whatever, he got no decision. It was fine. There's another UCF guy up. That's what's fun. And now there should be a few more once the calendar ticks over to September 1st. Of course, there's some sad news because Jason Bradford is out for the year and out for all of next year, most likely with Tommy John surgery. So what are you going to do?
I know. That's a bummer. We're wishing Jason the best in terms of his recovery.
Oh, that's right. The
Hopefully we can get
September
back
call-ups
into
this weekend, isn't it?
And not only that, you better soak these call-ups in because this is the last year that rosters expand from 25 to 40.
What?
Next year, yes. So starting next year, rosters only expand from 25 to 28. So
Wow, really? I didn't know about that. That's
What? It's just a Murph bomb. People,
thanks for not paying attention to baseball, guys. It's a fun game. You got a stick and a ball and some bases. It's been around for a few years. Maybe check it out. Anyway, next year they're cutting down the call-ups from 40 to 28, mostly for two reasons. One, people don't want to see guys who've never had an impact on the game impact pennant races. And two, those games are too damn long when you've got 40 guys on a roster. I mean, which means you probably have 15 to 18 guys in a bullpen. And if you've got a game between like the Tigers and the Royals on like September 15th, you don't want to be there for 4 hours watching 15 pitching changes.
Why? We're going to be there anyway. All right. So that's such a bummer. I'm surprised that the Players Association was okay with that.
Well. We're not going to delve into the issues with the Players Association right now, Jeff. That's for a different UCF Banneret podcast.
Well, I see. The only reason I brought this up, I was trying to set it up until I did not know that the big breaking news about next year, but we could have more UCF guys get called up, right? Like Bo Taylor is with Toronto, right? That's the one you think might happen?
Bo Taylor is with Toronto. He should be called up. I don't know. Do you think the Rockies would give Drew Butera another shot? I believe he's still down in Albuquerque.
Right.
So he's in the Rocky system. And I believe that's it, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as like UCF guys who are probably on the fringes of the major leagues, certainly Dylan Moore is up right now and actually had a 3-run home run last night against the Yankees. And then you've got Bo Taylor, Eric Skoglund, probably Drew Butera, and that's it? Because I think Ben Lively's in Korea.
Winkler. What about Danny Winkler? He's hurt, right?
Oh, that's right. Well, no. So Danny Winkler got traded from the Braves to the Giants on the last day before the trade deadline. The day of the trade deadline, he got traded from the Braves to the Giants, and then the next day he was designated for assignment. And I am not sure if he actually got a minor league assignment in the minor leagues. I should look that up.
Drew Butera, incidentally, right now for Albuquerque in the PCL and AAA is hitting .304 in 62 games.
I'd like to point something out. First of all, the PCL is already an extremely hitter-happy environment. Secondly, this ball is ridiculous. So
see, this is why we have you on the podcast, Murph. This is this kind of insight right here. Do you have his slash line? His slash line, he's like OPSing over 900. It's kind of nuts. His OPS is right at 897. He's got a 500 slugging and a 397 on base.
Get called up. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like a guy that needs to get called up.
Guys, we're now having me Google Dan Winkler. So he's.
By the way, for those because I know there's going to be some people going, "Hey, he didn't bring up Cody Allen," because Cody Allen technically was it.
I mean, yeah, but he's done.
Thank you. I just wanted you to say that officially for the record.
It's too bad. I mean, it goes quickly, man. It goes quickly. If you're a reliever, closers
an all-star like a few minutes ago.
What?
I thought he was an all-star like 5 minutes ago.
He was a couple years ago. He was the head of that bullpen that had Andrew Miller in it.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, but man, he lost it quick. He got cut by the Angels early this year. He's cooked. It's
just a great. It's the best UCF baseball pro recap, ladies and gentlemen. Just optimism right here.
Hey, I think Tyler Osick got promoted to high A, which is a good thing for him. He was raking in rookie ball, so yeah, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. Yeah, some guys.
Love it.
Yeah, and by the way, Osick with the White Sox in the Arizona Rookie League, by the way, this year, he was hitting 271. Not too bad. 719 OPS. That'll get the job done for
So it looks like that Dan Winkler did accept. I know I'm still on this, by the way. I'm still talking about Dan Winkler. Dan Winkler did accept an assignment with the Giants. He's currently at their AAA club in Sacramento, and to his credit, in the PCL, which I just talked about, is a really a hitter-friendly league. He's throwing 10 2/3 innings. He's got 1 run in that time, with 7 Ks and 3 walks. So I mean, it's been pretty decent.
He could get called up. I mean, he could get called up by the Giants.
0.84 ERA. So
and the Giants are going nowhere, and he was pretty decent a couple years ago for the Braves. I mean, we're connecting dots here. You know who had it right? Ben Lively. Because again, Ben Lively went to Korea. He's probably getting a lot more money than any of these guys who are currently on the farm.
That's probably true.
Wow.
And your UCF baseball update brought to you by Brian Murphy.
Hey, look.
Season starts in February, guys. We're only like 6 months away. It's great.
Oh, my God. Oh, here we are. And then, Eric, what do you have coming up?
Well, I just want, like I said, every week, a Murph baseball update should be like a requirement for the show. I mean, I think we just created a segment. We can call, I don't know, we can come up with a nickname for it. Murph's lineup or something like that.
Well,
Murph's Diamond.
It's going to be tough because, again...
Diamond Notes is taken, unfortunately.
Yeah, so. Diamond Notes is taken by a Boston writer whose name escapes me. It's it's going to be hard to do that weekly for 2 reasons. One, it's late August, and the baseball season in the major league level ends soon. Secondly, the minor league season has already ended for many leagues, so, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, there's always a play. Maybe somebody makes the playoffs or, something. Or maybe before you know it, football and baseball starts.
No. Here, in advance, we're just going to have to apologize to Sam Unger for, not having as much as he might have wanted, so...
How about I just project 2020 UCF baseball promotions and location?
Or how would
you got yourself a story idea right there?
Or how about this? What nicknames would you give the UCF baseball? What nickname did Dylan Moore use in last week's Players Weekend? Where those hideous
I'm sure I can look that up. I know that's on the internet somewhere.
All right. Well, while you do that,
I might be able to find that before the podcast is over.
Okay. Well, there you go. I like this. What a cliffhanger. While Murph does that, I will say, what am I doing? Well, I'm part of that round table as well with our predictions. I also wrote on Black and Gold Banneret the 11 athletes you should watch this fall in UCF athletics. And here's a hint: they're not all football. There's a couple of them. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of talent across all the full sports. So we break down some of the names. Great student athletes the UCF will be showcasing this fall in football, football, volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and cross country as they all get going. So that will be all on the Black and Gold Banneret.
Yeah. And we've got, by the way, on my side, we have, I've been doing a couple of series here. First, I've been doing Let's Not Talk Football with, going back to Media Day. I remember I sat down with some UCF football players and asked them questions that had nothing to do with football. And I'm shocked. The feedback on it has been so great. So I got 2 more in the can coming your way. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, but already I've got Jordan Johnson, who is great, Eric Mitchell, who is a great dude, and the silent warrior himself, Greg McCrae, was the one that went up today. You got a little bit of an update from Mackenzie Milton. He went on ESPN College Game Day on Saturday from the Magic Kingdom. Very good UCF presence out there. By the way, he said that the nerve damage that he suffered in his leg is basically back to 100%. In an interview with Maria Taylor.
Isn't that what he said told Van Pelt too?
Yeah, he kind of hinted at that, but he emphasized it with Maria. So
right.
That was some good news. We got that clip up there, and we also have our fall sports everything you need to know series. We did women's soccer right before their game. If you want to catch yourself up on who on UCF women's soccer heading into this season, make sure you check that out. This week we've got volleyball and men's soccer coming your way as well before they have their openers on Friday. Everything you need to know about those 2 squads. And also don't forget to sign up, if you haven't yet, on the new SB Nation Fan Pulse Top 25. To vote in that, go to our site. We have a link to sign up for that at the very top of the site. SB Nation Fan Pulse Top 25. It's our SB Nation's overarching effort to try and basically do a better job of the top 25s, and we need your help as UCF fans who are knowledgeable about college football to vote in that. So you got that plenty coming up here. Don't forget, football is coming up on Thursday at 7:30. We got volleyball and soccer on Friday. It's just a busy weekend. Here we go, boys. It's showtime. It's the start of the year. We got a lot to talk about, and we'll be interested to watch that. Don't forget, our live thread will go live an hour before the game, 6:30 p.m. on Thursday as well. And we'll all be there either watching on TV or, Murph, I know you'll be there along with Jeremy Brenner in the press box, actually covering the game from there. So,
Jeff, I will be there. I feel like you're bearing the lead, though.
Oh?
Dylan Moore's Players Weekend nickname.
Okay.
It's unfortunately not very creative. It's just Demo.
Oh!
That's, man, come on, Dylan. You can do better than that.
It's not nearly as good as Daniel Vogelbach, who's a big kind of overweight left-handed power hitter. His nickname was the Babe, which is just
great,
fantastic.
Excellent.
And if to any of you who are real baseball fans from the 80s and 90s, D. Gordon is using the lightning bolt emoji for Flash. His father, Tom Gordon, was nicknamed Flash.
Nice. There you go.
Love that. All right. With that, we are done for this week. We'll be, don't forget all that previous stuff like we were talking about. And follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. Follow Brian at Spokes_Murphy. Follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. And also follow the rest of us. In our preview article, I have a Twitter list that you can follow that has all of us, including Chris and Luke and Jeremy. Luke Saris SBN on Twitter. And Jeremy Brenner as well on Twitter. Who will be at the game. We'll all be tweeting like crazy for this game and giving out our observations as UCF begins the 2019 campaign against Florida A&M. For all of us here at Black and Gold Banneret, blackandgoldbanneret.com. For Eric, for Brian, I'm Jeff. Thank you so much for listening. It's been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We will catch you later next week.